let's play the music.
Yeah. So at the beginning of our next round of 50 films, I did some Oscar baiting here, and it might not have gone as well as we hoped. Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935.
What made you pick this?
Quite a few different things. So that I've seen that there were 3 different versions of this story, all called Mutiny on the Bounty. This one. And there was one in the 60s with Marlon Brando and some other people.
Yep.
And there was one in the 80s with Mel Gibson.
The Bounty.
And the Bounty. And I've seen the one in the 60s. And I loved it. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant film. And everyone has always told me that the oldest one, the one from the 30s, was much better. And that several people were terribly cast in the 60s version, and this one was much more realistic or something. And I thought, that sounds great. Meanwhile, what else made me think of this? I think after Journey to the Centre of the Earth, I was thinking that there must be a better kind of adventure film than this. And yeah, all of that all thrown in together and made me think, go on then, I'll pick it. And Claire and I have, of course, been watching a bunch of black and white films from the 30s recently because, Laura, you very kindly gave Claire a box set for her birthday.
Correct.
And so all of that kind of rolled in. I thought, yeah, I'm ready for a good 30s film. Let's go for it.
And what
did you think, Laura?
How did it hold up? I really liked it. I don't understand.
Yeah?
I thought it was good. Yeah, I enjoyed myself.
Good.
I thought it was very watchable.
Yeah.
How about you other guys?
I also thought that. I enjoyed it. I was ready to hate every second of it. And I hated very few seconds of it and liked most of them. So that was pretty good.
Oh, great. Fernando?
I did like it. What else did I think? Was it trying to teach us something? Because if it did, then I don't like it. I don't like moral stories. But I thought it was entertaining. Maybe the ending could have been a little bit stronger.
The end was funny.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but it was a good film.
Okay.
Wait, did you all watch it with subtitles? I watched it with subtitles because I realized then again I couldn't understand many of the things that were being said.
You know what? I actually did watch it with subtitles.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
It was a bit hard.
No, we didn't. I got most of it.
I watched it in the bath, so I needed the subtitles.
Brilliant.
Because I couldn't hear it over the.
You must have been very pruny by the end of it.
I often am in my baths. They can last up to 2 hours.
Oh, at what point do you start losing toes and stuff? That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, I had a great time.
What did you think of it, Michael?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on.
Sorry.
I kind of hated it. There were a lot of things. I was while I was watching it, I was thinking wow, this is nowhere near as good as I wanted it to be. As I say, I've seen the version from the 60s, and that version is an epic. It's 3.5 hours long. It has these fantastic performances from some great actors. It's in full Technicolor, one of these 70mm ultra widescreen things with an interval and an incredible score, and they built a ship just for the film and all of that. And that now watching this, I thought they were critics seemed to be saying, oh, and that had a load of fluff in it, and for the real cutting edge decent stuff, you want the stuff in the 30s. And I found it quite silly in parts and quite shallow in parts. Not a pun. So much toss. Some of these crappy slapstick bits, like the thing with the swinging lantern and they've got seasick, and the guy throwing the bucket overboard and it goes in his face, and then he learns to check the wind. The sort of comedy relief characters, and it was like, I'm trying to think. It was like if you'd seen, I don't know, Lawrence of Arabia or, I don't know, Ben-Hur or something, and then you watched another version of it that had loads of stupid farce and stuff in it, and you'd be like, this is just not appropriate whatsoever. So yeah, in that sense, I was quite disappointed. I still thought it was a great story, and I thought some of the actors did a good job. And I've always been really interested in this incident and the story behind it. So it was okay. But it was nothing on that 1960s epic.
Fair enough. That epic sounds brilliant, the way you describe it. I want to watch that.
I think it's great.
I've seen
Why
The
did
Bounty.
you not recommend that?
Well, because this was another thing. I saw this one from the 30s. I thought, some of us don't necessarily go for the fast-talking black and white 1930s war films, but also some of us definitely don't go for 3.5 hour naval epics. But yeah, for me, a far superior film, and in hindsight, I wish I had picked it. But also, I'm glad that I saw a new film I've never seen before, so that's good.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've seen The Bounty, the Mel Gibson.
Okay,
but it was
how was that?
Well, it was so long ago, I don't really remember it. But I think it was, from the sounds of it, more on the lines of the one that we just watched rather than the amazing epic. I think it's
okay.
Although it does have Anthony Hopkins in, which I assume is brilliant. But I was a child
Anthony
when I watched
Hopkins, I imagine, is just brilliant in everything.
Yeah. Oh, isn't he great? But I think it's quite silly. I can't remember. So this is really not worth me bringing up.
Oh no, that's definitely worth bringing up. This is the missing piece of the puzzle. So I've heard that was like also not the greatest film, but was more historically accurate.
Oh, interesting.
Than the two that I've seen.
I don't know the original story, so I couldn't say. But they do have, Mel Gibson has a really terrible British accent in it.
Oh no!
That's what I do remember.
So he's Australian, right?
Yeah, I think he is Australian.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought he did quite a good English accent as Hamlet, but I guess that was a bit later, so maybe he'd
did a pretty
got there by then.
Good English accent in Braveheart as well.
Oh no, she didn't.
But yeah, so
okay. So the Mutiny on the Bounty. Yeah, this was a thing that really happened. We'll get into in a little while how close this was to the real thing, which I've read about quite a lot over the years. Because I don't know, it's just a really interesting story, quite an amazing adventure. Did you all find that sort of thrilling twists and turns story interesting? The men pushed to breaking point by the wicked sea captain. Was that good?
I don't think it was necessarily like the twists and turns. It was just there was a believable baddie that you could root against and a charismatic hero that you could root for. And then it was all just nice. I agree the comic relief was useless.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a good guy versus bad guy does the thing that's technically wrong but morally right. Go him.
Yep.
Oh,
okay.
I'd be interested to hear what Fernando in particular thinks about the mutiny and its moral justification, because you always produce very interesting insights on these issues.
Well, I thought it was wrong.
Interesting.
But I also thought that all his decisions were just also pretty like he maybe was not thinking straight. I mean, why would he go back to with Tahiti? Did he not expect the British Navy to ever go back and find him? That he? It seems to me that he always knew that he was coming back, because even before they left the island, he wanted the message, and he wanted her to know. I guess he wanted his friend to translate and tell her that he was absolutely coming back, and there's no way that he could have had that certainty unless he already knew that he was that he was what going to instigate this mutiny. Yes, that he was already planning this mutiny. So I'm not sure if that part of the film is also accurate. Then I'm not sure what is the if his motives were totally justified and sincere, and even if they were justified, I think it was just plain wrong.
Interesting.
Okay, you think just Mutiny itself is completely out? Or just that it wasn't so bad that it was enough to justify it?
Well, I think maybe Mutiny in some cases is justified. Even though they were poorly treated, I think they could have just waited a little bit and maybe complained back in England. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess then what I think is what they went through, even though it was terrible, maybe it did not completely fully justify Mutiny, and it certainly did not justify their, as in the way that they handled the Mutiny. And it seemed to me that part of the reason they were doing it is just because they somehow fell in love with the way of life in Tahiti, and they wanted to go back. And I wonder if they had got to Tahiti and hated the place, would they still have risen against the captain?
Yeah, if they hadn't had somewhere beautiful to go back to.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe they did.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. I think they were quite worried that a lot of his actions of Captain Bligh were resulting in the deaths of the crew. So does that not justify it a little bit? That they probably. I mean, on the one hand, they were sort of trying to save lives, possibly, but then they did send all of the men to their certain deaths in those boats. But then that was their choice, kind of, wasn't it?
Yeah. They told them you can stay on board if you want, and they gave them a sextant, they gave them some food, some water, and they did manage it. But I think you're right. It was causing deaths, wasn't it? He keel-hauled the one guy, resulting in his death, and he had cut water rations for everyone drastically in a way that was causing death. The doctor had died from exhaustion from being summoned up on deck.
Those prisoners were pretty close to the edge. Prisoners who did, unjustifiably imprisoned in the hold.
Wait, but then keel-hauling was an acceptable form of punishment back then, I think. As in, he did not do it being an illegal punishment, or was it?
No, I think it was pretty extreme, but he was. I think there was part of the problem that the captain is the law on board, and he is basically given the authority to carry out any punishment that he wishes. So I think it was within the law.
So what we were saying is that he acted within the law, and maybe there was a problem with the law and with his miscarriage of maybe the rules. But I guess that somehow justifies what happens at court back in England, where they basically decide that he was. What happened in the court? I think they basically said you were right, but then as in you were technically right, but we disapprove of the way that you handled the situation. Is that what happened?
Yeah, he was rebuked. He was cleared of any. Yeah, it was still said that the mutiny was wrong and that the mutineers must be punished for it. But they expressed their concerns over how cruel Captain Bligh had been.
Mm-hmm.
The bit they left out, which happened in real life, was that they didn't do that. They actually praised Captain Bligh for doing such a good job and for getting back to England and getting the mutineers and everything, and then sent him on a second voyage to go and do the breadfruit thing.
Oh, really?
Yep, and only by the time he got back had some more witnesses turned up, and only when he got back from his second breadfruit voyage did they realise how cruel and arbitrary he had been, and then rebuked him. And that was when public opinion turned against him.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
But that's not great for a film.
So they didn't exaggerate how cruel he was.
I think they maybe did exaggerate it a bit, but not much. There was pretty bad stuff. I think if anything, they didn't make it clear that maybe a lot of captains were like that, and he wasn't spectacularly cruel for a captain. But I think it was agreed, at least at the time, that he had been too cruel, and that he'd taken it too far.
Fascinating.
Still, though, what was it? 2,500 miles he managed to go in those two tiny ships, tiny boats.
Is that how much? Oh my god!
Yeah, it was an extraordinary voyage.
He really became a very good leader once he was in the little boat. He started, caring for his crew at that point.
Yeah.
It was really surprising when he just turned back to a dick.
Well, in a way, that seemed to me to be the same character trait, which was being completely convinced of his right to be in charge and being completely certain that he was right in all matters. And I think maybe when you're in a close to certain death situation, like being on those boats, having someone with a plan that's just completely on top of it is really, that's what the people needed at that point.
Yeah, but he was compassionate and stuff as well, which we just didn't see when he was on the ship.
I suppose so. Yeah, on the ship he wasn't bothered about people dying, was he?
No. And he didn't care that, about dividing food up between the men and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What happened to the cheese?
That?
He stole the cheese.
He nicked it.
Oh, he stole it.
Yeah. And made Fletcher sign the logbook to confirm that it was all there.
Wait, did he also steal the coconuts?
The coconuts, I don't remember.
Oh, there was something about the coconut.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, can you remind us? I can't remember what happened with the coconut.
Again, the protagonist was in his turn of watch, and 10 coconuts disappeared.
And I do remember this.
Was asking about the coconuts, and I wondered, what happened to the coconuts?
Maybe he had them as well.
Be just like him.
Yeah.
He's a bad one.
Yeah,
that
he
guy,
was a bad
Captain
egg.
Bligh.
Yeah. He'd have been a good contender for the worst villain. Best villain.
Who was the?
Yeah, he was good, wasn't he?
Yeah,
who was the best villain according to us? Or who won the best villain award?
Count Mondego.
Yes.
Not
we'd
just
have been up to
according to
something here.
us. It's fact now.
Yeah. The Secret Academy decided that.
So I'm going to have to say again, Captain Bligh in the 1960s version was so much more interesting and was so well played. It was superb. He was... You felt like you respected him, even though he was such a cruel man. And every scene with him in, he just utterly stole the scene. You couldn't stop watching him. And I felt this guy, he was sort of very posh sounding and a bit weak looking and a bit pathetic.
Yeah.
And that spoiled it a bit for me. I think they again, I'm comparing it to one of my favourite films, so that makes it difficult. But yeah, it was a shame that.
Yeah, he wasn't. It's difficult. He was. No, I don't know what I was going to say. There wasn't much depth to him, I suppose. He was just a bastard, wasn't he? He was just awful.
Yeah, exactly.
Until till they got mutinied, and then he showed some good leadership and compassion, but that was short-lived, wasn't it?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to see sort of what was driving him. Again, in the other film, he becomes obsessed with the breadfruit plants, and it's sort of his white whale, and he's discarding everything in favour of those plants because he is just so certain that his job is to get that mission done, and that was somehow more engaging rather than just he's just a nasty man.
Wait, could he not have gotten just some seeds and then taking those seeds back to England and then grown the plants in England?
That's a very good question.
Who knows? Maybe they don't grow from seedlings or something in the climate. But who knows?
Something like that. Or are they a plant that doesn't produce seeds? And you just have to take cuttings? You do see those? But then why would it have a fruit? No, I don't know. I do know that they did, in real life, bring something like 1,000 breadfruit plants potted.
And there are
and
only...
had to try and keep them alive the whole voyage.
Okay. And there are only 1,000 breadfruit plants in England because you cannot make any more out of them.
Yeah, so how do you make more? Maybe you have to plant the live breadfruit. Yeah, maybe the seeds have a very short shelf life or something.
Maybe they just didn't have that many by that point in time and wanted to speed the process along by bringing back a bunch. They did have slaves to be feeding now, you know.
They had slaves to be feeding. They weren't coming from England, were they? They were to take them to the West Indies to feed the slaves.
Jesus Christ.
Somehow a less benevolent task than bringing healthy sources of food to people.
Yep. I didn't understand why they threw all the breadfruit plants out of the boat.
No.
When I was like, you're turning back to, they could use those where you're going.
Yeah.
Not on Tahiti. No one ever ate breadfruit on Tahiti.
Clearly they're giving away all
Desperately wanted them to be eating the bloody breadfruit, but no.
Yeah. I guess they would those breadfruit again. This is something right. This is the last time I'm going to say this. The 60s version was better in so many ways, but one of the things was that scene was quite a passionate thing of them. Yeah, they threw these breadfruit overboard, threw them at him.
Okay.
Because they hated these plants because these plants were the reasons they hadn't been getting enough water, and everything, all of the cruel treatment had been to try and preserve these plants. So it was their final act of defiance was to throw these overboard.
That makes sense.
Okay.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Had they been pigs, would they have also thrown the pigs to the sea?
Oh, poor pigs.
Well,
there was the one pig, wasn't there?
Yeah, they just dumped it on the pile. We never saw it again. But maybe it's living its best life in Tahiti now. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe they took it home. Yeah, I couldn't quite figure out because they sort of jokingly said, a new pet for the ship. And I wasn't sure whether that was a dark joke or whether it was actually a pet they were going to keep around.
Like the seagull, that was a pet, wasn't it? That they managed to catch.
Yeah. The one they pulled out of the air.
Gee, that
so
poor
that they could
seagull.
stroke it.
Oh my God, that seagull had a rough time, didn't it? It was a live seagull. God, the 30s were a different time for animal use in films.
Oh, yeah, that hadn't even occurred to me. I thought you meant like in the story, but yeah. Yeah, poor thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, did we all enjoy seeing Clark Gable?
Which one was
took
he?
me a while to remember that it was Clark Gable. He was Fletcher Christian.
He was the hero.
Yeah, he's famous, is he?
He's he's pretty famous. Yeah, he's in Gone with the Wind. He's Rhett Butler.
Okay,
he delivers the famous line.
Nice.
Yeah, he's less handsome than I thought. Because I've seen Gone with the Wind, and in that film, he's like extremely dapper. Everyone fucking loves him.
I thought I was really disappointed in his acting. I thought a lot of this stuff was really rubbish, particularly his laugh.
I don't remember.
I was really excited about seeing Clark Gable. It's sad.
Oh,
I quite liked him.
I'm glad to say that bit wasn't a disappointment for me.
Yeah, I thought he was good, but I mean, he was creepy at times.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess he's meant to be. Well, he smoulders a lot. He just like point blank would stare at the woman. What's her name? I can't remember. But the woman that he fancies is just like unabashedly lusting after her.
Okay.
But I get the sense that as a 30s audience, we were meant to find that romantic.
Yes.
Were we supposed to swoon?
I think so.
See the modest love in his eyes as he stares down her top. Yeah. That was also harmed by the whole early movie acting where they think they have to act like they're on stage and really overdo everything, right? I think there was no sense of, try and make it a bit more subtle than that, Clark. Make sure they know what you're thinking. Smolder harder.
Yeah. Who was your favourite?
I like Tommy.
Ooh.
Who was Tommy?
The young guy with the kid back home.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a wife at home, Governor. He didn't talk like that.
No, he didn't.
I think he did.
He was a good, likeable, someone to keep you engaged in the story. I thought he was good.
Yeah, I'm surprised. He seemed to think about his wife and child a lot through the film, and I'm surprised that he mutinied, because he must have thought that's not going to go well, you know?
I think that was how far they'd been pushed.
Yeah.
Even he mutinied.
Yeah, you can not want to mutiny, but after a year of not knowing whether you're going to get killed the next day or
be fed or
all of that.
Yeah.
Perhaps also the rash action of a young man.
Oh.
If I was him, I would have just sent a letter home being like, sorry, you're going to have to deal with this on your own, because if I come back, I'm going to be hanged, so I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah. Nothing like admitting your guilt. What happened with him in the end? Was he one of the ones that was pardoned?
Oh, I think he was hanged. I think that's what we were meant to think.
Oh, he was hanged. Yeah, okay.
I think only Byam was pardoned.
Oh, that's rough.
Which I found
he
a
was
bit
happy.
silly.
You found it silly?
Just the way that they did it, of like they had this tendency in the film, I think, to just cut to the chase. They didn't bother filming any scenes that might link everything together. They just, whenever they needed to get somewhere, they just put it in writing of what they're just like, we're interrupting the film, just read this paragraph so we can get on with it. And they did that for the end, where it's like, he was pardoned. Let's show a little letter. I think it was the equivalent of, you know, in The Simpsons when they go, and they were saved by, let's say Mo.
Yes.
Like that. We just get this letter with this random name of this guy that we met in the beginning. Stepped in and saved him. So yeah. But I mean, good, because although I wish they'd just stuck to the guns and hanged him as well. That's what I would have done.
Hang them all.
Hang them all. They're mutineers, for God's sake.
So, how about the message of the film? As Fernando pointed out, there was perhaps a heavy-handed moral to be found. What did we think of that?
Was there? Oh no, let's not talk about it. I hate it.
So they put this huge thing up at the start saying, this is a film in which a bunch of people are going to mutiny, just to let you know in advance. This will this brought about a change in how the Royal Navy treated its men, and then this at the bit at the end they said this created a new understanding between men and officers, which was based on like respect and trust rather than based on punishment, and that's the reason that that Britain's such a great country today, and it's much fairer and better, isn't it? So I think that's what they were going for, was just it. If you treat people well, you get better results and everyone's happier than if you try and just use the stick and punish them.
Yeah, it was very much like, gosh, I should really have something to say before I start talking. But it was, I think it's fine. Yes. Someone else say something. I don't know. Yeah.
I did not. I did not think that the message was clear, as in that there was a clear thing, something to be learned from the movie itself. As in, I think it was only clear that maybe his actions were wrong, but it was not clear how or what changed, and how it did change after that incident. Also, I don't think that it probably changed after just one incident. Maybe that was the beginning, but surely some other developments must have happened as well to have a radical change in the Navy.
Right. Does the 1960s... I know we're not talking about it, but surely I'm allowed to. Does the 1960s version explain this any better? Like, does it have a clearer moral? Or is it the same moral?
No, it very much... it doesn't really do the whole moral thing. It focuses on how characters feel and how they develop and gives them arcs, but it doesn't... It's just an epic. I think we very much... Yeah, no, it's a lot more subtle, and it certainly doesn't have a big thing at the start and end telling you what to make of it.
It makes it a lot easier if they just tell you what to think. You don't have to work as hard.
By the way, Aslan is supposed to be Jesus. Just print that on the title card.
I'm all for it. Just guide you through. They could have like a big sign that comes up and says, "This is the baddie," and you like
they essentially
this man.
did, didn't they?
Yes. They had him be squat and greasy looking, and everything he said was evil.
Yeah.
And we had that speech as well, didn't we, after the guy had been sentenced to death, the one officer that was
that was seen
to be complicit in the mutiny, even though he wasn't really.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was his name?
Bayan, was it?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, they sort of asked him, "Do you have any last words?" And they zoomed like right in on him and had him do this big rehearsed speech on if just one man was willing to motivate the men with encouragement and rewards, then that man would be able to sweep the navy and command an army that the world has never seen. And did this whole big speech, which to me seemed to be the voice of the director or the voice of the writers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can
pretty
see
good
that.
speech though.
Yeah, it was quite good,
Yeah.
and I think had something to be said for it. I couldn't help but laugh. The absurdly patriotic British stuff, like at the beginning, at the end, where they like full on play Rule Britannia, and I think in the second case have like a chorus singing Rule Britannia.
Yeah, my sister
And they
came
said
through
something like,
and was like, "Why
Right.
are you playing Rule Britannia?" It's like, I watched a film.
watching a film about the greatest navy ever to sail the seas.
This was before I got into the bath, by the way.
Okay. Oh, yes, good. Glad to hear it. Although, why are you listening to Rule Britannia in the bath would be just as good a question.
Yeah.
Possibly knock first, though.
I recommend watching all films about the sea in the bath, by the way.
Yeah, that's quite a nice idea.
Yeah.
But it was kind of interesting, when they did this bit at the start saying that this was the incident that changed the way the Navy works and led to the great British Navy that rules the seas and keeps merchants safe across the world. I was like, and then I had to think, this was actually at the tail end of that. 1935 was pretty much the last time the UK really did have naval dominance across the entire world. And it was kind of interesting seeing that this sort of, a film that was not looking at this historically, but was saying, and the result of this is today we have the greatest navy. And that sort of seemed to give it some extra significance somehow. Did anyone feel that?
I didn't pick up on it, but now that you're saying it, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that we lose something the further we get away from a historical event, the less relevant it is to us. And it was quite nice that it was just that little bit more relevant to audiences back then.
Yeah, it makes it sort of more transparent their choices to do that and to put this very heavy moral spin on.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bloody presentists.
Yeah, maybe it's better now because we're not influenced by it and we can have a more rounded view of what happened because we don't take sides so easily.
Why does Britannia not still rule the sea?
Second World War, I think, which Britain sort of won by the skin of her teeth thanks to huge help from America that established itself as the superpower.
And they didn't just give us the waves back.
No. Well, I think by that point we didn't so much want it anyway.
Do you think? I've no idea.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the colonies were being given up around then, partly because they were less profitable and partly because it's the right thing to do, I think. I think there was a mixture of those two different things. We don't have an empire anymore, so why we don't have the resources or the need to have a world-beating navy. We're this tiny island with 60 million people on it out of a population of 7 billion. We're just not that important anymore.
Not with that attitude, we're not.
No.
Did anyone else in school get the whole, we used to own a fifth of the world, now we don't, what a shame, when in like primary school?
I didn't get that.
Oh, I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
don't remember
that's
that.
fine as long as you still get as long as you still understand that Britain is still the center of the earth. So
Yes. Yeah, it's scientific fact, right? The Greenwich Meridian just goes straight through London.
Indeed, I think that we should just redefine where the equator is so that it also passes through Britain, and so
Yeah.
Britain would literally be at the center. Yes,
I thought the centre of the Earth was Atlantis.
That'd be perfect. Oh yes, sorry. And your rings all come falling off because of the magnetic something.
Magnetic pull of the two poles.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did we enjoy the techno babble?
No, just you, Michael.
I love this in films, and so that, like in Star Trek, they'll be all, oh, we've been hit by a phaser, Captain. Reroute auxiliary power through the main phase vessel. So just say a load of stuff that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But naval stuff has been doing this for centuries. It's amazing. He'll do this thing where they're sailing away and they're playing the triumphant music, and the captain will go, okay, number one, hoist up the jibsails and man the topsails, drop the anchor, weigh the anchor, and open all port bow starboard vessels, and just saying all of these crazy words. And I'm constantly surprised by how many of these words exist and how completely meaningless it all is. In fact, I got this. It was after we watched The Count of Monte Cristo. Maybe I should find this. I'm going to find it now. We watched The Count of Monte Cristo, right? And Laura said that she was reading it.
Yes.
And I started reading it as well.
Did you?
And I broke down laughing in the first chapter because of one of these bits. Let me find it. Yeah, here it is. It says, so this is Edmond Dantes. Turning to the crew, he said, bear a hand there to take in sail. All hands obeyed, and at once the 8 or 10 seamen who composed the crew sprang to their respective stations at the spanker, brails and outhaul, topsail sheets and halyards, the jib down haul, and the topsail clew lines and bunt lines. Like, who wrote this stuff?
And that's all real.
This is... I assume it's all
He
real.
wouldn't have just made up all that nonsense babble.
Like, surely not, because he'd have had to make up nonsense babble in French, and the translator would have had to make up nonsense babble to translate it into. So I assume that's all legit, but it's just... I just love seeing it in these things, where they all spring into action and they all start hoisting up the clue lines and bunt lines. Yeah, it's my favourite. So, in fact, that was the one thing I said to Claire while we were watching the films when they started on all that. I said, I promise this isn't the reason I picked this film.
I know that it really
great.
was. So.
I've never noticed. Well, I mean, obviously you notice it, but you never think. It's never tickled me, really. But I'm going to watch out for it now.
Yeah. Oh, maybe you will. I mean, the ideal one is where the captain is talking to the first mate,
Right.
and he'll say something in a quiet captainly voice, and then the first mate will bellow it out to all of the sailors. Yeah, it's so good.
I'm having trouble imagining that. Could you maybe demonstrate for us?
So he'll go, I can't remember all of the shit now. Yeah, he'll go, load the starboard broadside, number one, and he'll go, load starboard broadsides! Take down the topsail, number one. Take down topsails! Yeah. And they could be saying anything. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's good. Also, thanks, Claire, for
And
making
there's a
that
good bit. And there's a bit of that in the 60s version as well.
I imagine it's in all sea films. if it's Navy language,
Yeah.
they're going to have to communicate to each other.
But well, I mean, I imagine some films they just try and sort of focus on the characters rather than focusing on
That's true, yeah.
men shouting out instructions. But that's what we want, really, isn't it?
They do that in Pirates of the Caribbean. I remember.
Oh
Yeah. Which is my only other sea voyage-y film that I've seen, I think.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
It's a shame Jaws is set on such a small
I
boat.
know.
So there's only 3 of them.
It's not really got sails and stuff either, has it? It's always
No.
Yeah.
No clue lines to bunt.
What did we think of Tahiti?
Yeah,
It's very pretty.
It's a good place.
Scenic.
It looked beautiful. Everyone says it's beautiful, don't they?
Wait, Tahiti's a real place?
Yeah. No, they didn't just make it up for the film.
I don't think the Tahitians, is that the name for people
Yep.
from Tahiti? I don't think they would be that happy to see British people
It was a bit
arriving on a boat.
romanticised, wasn't it? Probably,
Felt
I
like
imagine so.
I looked into this because, again, as I said, I really like this story. I find it quite interesting. It seems that a lot of it was pretty straight. At least the early part, they really did welcome them and sent out boats to welcome them in and stuff. And they had a very good relationship with the British, partly based on, they talked about Captain Cook a few times, who was not too popular with some other groups around the world, not least the Maori in New Zealand he killed half of. But he was on very good terms with the Tahitians. And it seems they went to... No, I'm going to stop saying that now. They...
Do you know what?
they
I think
really
they
did
might go into more detail in it in the 1960s version.
Well, you may say that. I couldn't possibly comment. It seems they did genuinely, a lot of them, enter various kinds of consensual relationships with the sailors who were coming, and they got all of these jewels and stuff that were their gift in return for these breadfruit, and they were quite happy to do all of that. And it seems they all got on very well.
According to who?
According to Wikipedia and any sources we can find. It all went very badly wrong a bit later, though, and the film did not go into that at all. I think possibly in an attempt to make the mutineers seem like really top blokes.
Which they were. Yeah. This was a simple film.
This was a simple film, and this simple film relied on Captain Bligh being evil and the mutineers being good.
Yes.
And the mutineers were actually pretty rotten in quite a lot of ways.
They mutinied.
Maybe that was justified. But so they mutinied, and then they went back to Tahiti, and it seems they were welcomed. And they went and met up with their different wives or girlfriends that they had met on the island, and they lied to the, I forget his name now, the leader, and indeed they lied to all the others and said, so we've come back, Captain Bligh went somewhere else, but we've come back to come and ask you, some of you guys, if you want to come with us, because we're setting up a new colony. Captain Bligh and King George and Captain Cook, they were doing all this name dropping, want to set up a new colony on so-and-so island. Will you all come with us and we can found a colony together? And a bunch of them, did go with them. They went off sailing to another island, and then got in a really terrible situation there because there were a load of people already there who were nowhere near as friendly, and they ended up having
God.
pitched battle with them as they were trying to build a castle and stuff, ended up abandoning the island and going back to Tahiti.
Oh, wow.
By which point, other people had come to Tahiti and told them the truth about what had really happened with Captain Bligh.
Oh, God.
And Captain Cook, who was maybe dead by this point or something, but basically that this was a complete lie. They were mutineers. So the mutineers got back and they were like, what the fuck, guys? And it was a lot more fraught from that point. And I think there was a certain amount of, violence and nasty stuff. But they were still kind of connected in some way. And they still sort of got on all right in certain times. And then the most terrible thing that I think they did was they realised they needed to sail away and find somewhere else to live. They invited a whole load of them on board the Mutiny for a party, and then one night they just cut the anchor and sailed away with everyone on board.
What?
Just took them captive. And it appears that a large number of them were not happy about this. And were totally just kidnapped and taken away to another island, never to see their families again. But again, there's something I kind of want to do more reading about this, like beyond Wikipedia, which is more than I ever do about any subject. But because it still seems that some of them were in on that, and some of them were like married to the mutineers, or were very good friends and that kind of thing. But yeah, definitely there was a lot of bad blood from there. And then when they actually finally settled down on Norfolk Island, over the next few years, there was loads of violence and murders and revenge murders between the Tahitians and the mutineers, and also between like some of the it was really sordid. I think the mutineers were increasingly seeing the Tahitians that they had kidnapped as their property, and so a bunch of the Tahitians got together and decided to murder them, and did this, planned a massive coordinated, let's kill them all at one time, killed like 5 or 6 of the mutineers, and then like a year later, some combination of the remaining mutineers and the widows, like the Tahitian widows of the mutineers that had been killed, plotted counter murders and all this stuff. It was just, it was horrendous, a really, really sordid chapter.
God.
And it made watching this film and seeing like the heroic mutineers who did what they had to do and made the good old British Navy what it is today. They were not entirely nice blokes.
God, it would be a great film if the first half was the mutiny and we see them as heroes, and then the next half just destroys it all and just is this chaotic. Where's the film about the settlement?
Oh, yeah.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
Mutiny 2, Not on the Bounty.
Mutiny off the Bounty. Mutiny on the Bounty 2, Who's Sailing Now?
Mutiny on the Bounty 2, Ship in the City.
I might as well conclude the story now. After all of that had happened within... by the way, they also figured out how to make alcohol, and that caused a lot of problems on the island as well. But they... after a few years, there was only one of the original mutineers left, and a whole load of Tahitians and a whole load of children, because all of these were like active marriages that had a load of children that were, mixed race and mixed identity. And this one guy that was left found God, basically, in a big way, and using the ship's Bible, established a pretty sound peace and got everybody, defused all the weird tensions between all the different people that were left and established a pretty peaceful community. And he was eventually, they were found maybe 20 years after the mutiny by one of the British, found them and decided that it wouldn't be worth pursuing him, basically pardoned him, and left that that community in peace. And they're still there. There's about 50 of them living on Norfolk Island. Pitcairn Island. And they speak a weird Creole, which is a mix between Tahitian and English. And they do fine. This was a super isolated community that's just descended from the bounty mutineers and their Tahitian captives.
God, that's
beautiful.
Yeah, what a great story. A horrible story, but yeah. We should go there after Cannes.
I think we should go. Yes,
very nearly the most remote place that you can get to. But in the last couple of decades, they were putting out requests for new settlers because the community was sort of a bit in decline, and apparently they all kind of fit into 3 or 4 main families now, and they
Is there a chemistry
they
department?
wanted fresh blood. I think there is not a chemistry department.
I probably won't be able to get a job.
The Pacific is like the native home of anthropology, so I might be all right.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's not great, to be honest. It's very colonial, but
right.
Sounds like the ticket.
But the guy talks about, what's the book called? Guns, Germs and Steel. He talks a lot about the Pacific Islands.
Right.
In terms of migration and human civilizations developing in isolation. It's a very good case study, apparently, for stuff like that.
Okay.
It's a good book.
Wow.
Was the language they were speaking actually the Tahitian language?
The language we saw them speaking in the film?
Yes.
I think...
I don't know.
You know, the chief...
You'd think...
I think he was from Tahiti, the actor. So you would imagine that if they'd gone to the trouble of getting a Tahitian actor to play the chief, that they would go to the trouble of making sure the language was accurate. But who knows with these people? I mean, the women were not from Tahiti, I don't think.
No.
Oh, right.
I think one was from Hawaii and the other one was of Mexican descent and American.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah, I did it because I was curious.
Oh, well.
I thought if they'd bothered to go and get Tahitian people, but those actresses were very famous for playing like exoticized sort of women of any ethnicity and race.
Were they in Papillon?
I don't know. What's Papillon?
It's a story about a French prisoner who is exiled to some of the Caribbean islands that the French used to send people to, and he escaped and spent... it's based on his autobiography, so it is disputed just how true certain elements are. But yeah, he apparently lived in a village with some attractive, exotic looking people for a while, and it's just occurred to me that it might be the same woman, pair of sisters,
that film,
who both fall in love with him.
Oh yeah,
I should expect.
He was a handsome man, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think that film was about 30 years newer, wasn't it?
Was it? Oh yeah, it was Robert Redford, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Probably not them then.
So I take it they didn't shoot on location in Tahiti.
Don't know. I mean, they might have done. They obviously shot it somewhere.
Was it Cornwall?
I'm not sure. Yeah, it was probably Cornwall. You're right. Yeah.
New Zealand. That's where everything's filmed.
Yeah, that's true.
any of this, if they had gone into more detail, that might have been interesting.
Yeah.
But
on the one hand, it was a very watchable film. I think as well, it was a very simple film, like you said, Claire. It was a very like, here are the goodies. Something bad's going to happen to them. They're going to set right some wrongs and don't worry too much about it.
Yep.
If you're having trouble keeping up, here's a little paragraph to get you all up to speed. Quite like that, actually. I wish more films did that.
Well, you have Star Wars.
That's true. It only does it at the beginning, though.
Yes.
That's true, actually. That is a good parallel. It does do that.
It even scrolled up at the beginning, didn't it? That was quite good. But instead of John Williams, it's Rule Britannia.
That's what Star Wars needs.
More
British patriotism.
Imperial patriotism, yeah. Brilliant stuff.
Star Wars was before the United Kingdom existed.
It was a long time ago,
Oh,
wasn't it?
a
In
long
a galaxy
time ago.
far, far away.
Yeah, you're right.
So far away, the British Empire didn't even reach that far.
The British Empire's always
was
existed. Isn't it?
Maybe.
It was some kind of empire, though, wasn't it? Star
Yeah,
Wars.
I think the British Empire with the baddies in Star Wars.
Yeah.
What?
Like in this film?
Yeah. Terrible.
Whoa.
That's just the evil empire, isn't it? Yeah.
Something
I
in
don't know,
that?
I've never seen Star Wars.
Wait, have you not? No,
No.
you have. What?
I've not.
Well, you actually not.
I've actually not.
Michael,
seen
is she
one of
being
them.
serious? Which?
I mean,
what?
surely
Yeah,
Star
no,
Wars.
she's serious. She's never seen
What
them.
the fuck?
seen the
Star
one with
Wars
the-
is just like reading the Bible. As in, you know that it exists, but nobody has ever read the Bible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's the one with the laser crossbows. I've seen that.
Yes, you saw episode 7, the one that came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
fell asleep
Um,
in the cinema.
yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to end up getting chosen.
I
Nope.
wonder.
I wonder if you can choose as in all 9 films as just one film, as in just say the Star Wars trilogy collection.
The tri-trilogy.
I think we should be allowed to do that.
Great. I pick every episode of House.
Fine by me.
Any final thoughts about Mutiny on the
I'm
Bounty?
sure I did have a final thought, but now I can't remember what it is.
Oh, sorry.
Would you have
I'm glad you all
mutinied?
enjoyed it. Oh,
What? Sorry?
I think I would have done.
Would you have mutinied?
No, but I also would not have joined the Navy.
Well, what if you were press?
You would have.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
that
press
is true.
gang
I
got
guess I
you.
would have been conscripted. No, I think I would not have mutinied.
You would have gotten into the boat.
I would have. Yeah, I guess so. Yes.
Interesting. Clear?
What would? I don't know what I would have done. Like, I like to think I would have mutinied and done what I thought was morally correct, but also I don't like causing trouble. And also, I wouldn't have wanted to get in the little boat. So I think I'd have waited till the little boat filled up and then said, oh, actually, I don't mutiny, and then got to stay on the big boat. But also know that I hadn't technically broken the rules. That's
Admirable.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the real hero's journey. No one writes stories about that guy, do they? What would you have done, Laura?
Oh, 100% of mutinied.
Would you have just thrown Bly off the boat?
Very easily led, and I get real swept up in a crowd, so yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that I would have been swept along in that. For no moral reason, just to like, is this what we're doing? Okay.
Oh, we're changing pubs, alright, okay.
Yeah.
I could tell that was the case from the way that you questioned Fernando. He said, so would you have mutinied? And he said no. And you're like, interesting.
And you'd have mutinied, Michael, you reckon?
I think so.
Whoa.
I think with all of once the people were actually getting killed, that's not just, this is a bit of a rough job, let's see what happens when we get back to England. That's sort of, this is truly wrong. Having that island paradise quite nearby with all the beautiful people and delicious fruit and all that kind of stuff, that would have made it even more tempting.
Yeah. Oh, I know what we've not talked about. And I know I say this for every film, but Byam or whatever his name was, and Clark Gable were totally in love. Happy to end there with no discussion, but yeah, this was a gay romance.
Yeah. Do you remember are you thinking of the scene where they're like lying under the tree together and passing each other bananas?
End of podcast.
Yeah, exactly. This gazing into each other's eyes sometimes.
Yeah.
The banana thing.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor.
Shut up.
It was really good, whether it's like a crude metaphor or whatever, but it was great how he was like, I want a banana, I'm going to grab two and just give the other guy one of them, and of course he wants it. They're just that in tune. That was lovely.
Yeah.
Just hanging out, eating bananas together.
Just guys being pals.
I thought that was also quite a good symbol of like, okay, we get it. Tahiti is wonderful. Not just like, you can't even lie down somewhere without having random fresh fruit growing immediately to hand, always ripe.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to sit up to get it. That was a nice touch.
That's the life, isn't it?
Yeah. This is why we should go. Post Cannes.
I'd be up for that.
Yeah.
I had one other note, and it was when the ship was sinking, there was a guy standing on deck just drumming.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why that would be a thing. Like, all it can possibly do is increase anxiety. Like, that is the last thing anyone needs on a sinking ship.
Wait, have you not seen Titanic?
That's when they have the orchestra play, don't they?
Well, they didn't have an orchestra.
It's the same thing, yeah.
They play like soothing, entertaining music.
Yeah.
Not like stirring drum beats to get your heart rate raised.
I got the impression it was that the drummer was giving orders somehow. It's like this particular rhythm means everyone get out from below. And like it was somehow orchestrating people's movements.
Yeah, I got a similar impression that it was like to regulate so that people didn't just panic in a rush. It was like just move along to the slow sort of drum beat kind of thing. You know, if you've got a rhythm, then you kind of move along to that. I don't know though, because maybe he did get dragged off in the end, so maybe he was just drumming away, thought he was going to die. Just have another bash on your drums, mate.
I'm going to drown anyway, I might as well have a little bang on my drum.
Yeah, maybe that was his way of coping with the situation.
Yeah. Right, last thing.
Drum away the
pain. Last thing. Can we think of any parallels in popular fiction or media that we could possibly compare Captain Bligh to, potentially at the end?
So there's one that I can think of.
I can't possibly.
Are there any others?
No.
So Fletcher Christian is Jesus.
Oh yeah, obviously. And the whale. It's not often that they're Jesus and the whale.
No, the whale is the breadfruit.
What? In your 1960s version, maybe. But the whale,
yeah, we don't really see that in this.
Captain Bligh literally runs his ship, destroys his ship and risks a life on the second voyage to try and find Christian.
That's true.
Yeah, he's
obsessed
with Christian.
Yeah, Christian is the whale, you're right.
Yeah. And Jesus.
Yeah. I think that's all I've got.
That's me, I'm done, yeah. Thanks for picking it. I did enjoy it. It was a good watch.
Yeah. I'm really glad.
Yeah.
I thought I might have hit a dud there.
Nah, it was good fun.
Yep. Good film.
Should I play the music?
Yeah.
Okay.